Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. I'm Taylor.
I'm Blanca, and today is Wicked Wine Wednesdays,
where we talk about true crime and sample wines.
Today we'll be discussing the Taylor McAllister case.
So if you like wine and true crime, don't forget to
like, comment, and subscribe.
So I just want to remind you guys that we will be talking about the wines that we tried at the end of the video, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned until then. I also want to remind you guys that we will be posting a video every other Wednesday. So let's dive in. Today's case is a very, very sad case. It's about a mother of two 18-month-old twins that tragically had her life taken from her. Her name is Taylor McAllister, and she was born July 21st, 1994 in Melbourne, Florida. She was a really great person. All of her family and friends, they loved her to death, and she loved to play music. That was one of her passions, and there's videos of her on YouTube and everything of her doing covers to songs and playing her guitar. She had a passion, and that's what she enjoyed doing. She was from Florida, but she spent some of her life in Tennessee, majority of it in Florida. And she ended up meeting a man who was her baby's daddy. And they started off pretty good, but they slowly turned to drug addiction, being opioids and crack cocaine. And she was struggling with this, trying to raise two very young babies. Both of them were. And she needed to find a means of making money. And to do that, she turned to Backpage, which she used as a way to find basically a sugar daddy. She kind of was an escort and made money. She ended up getting in contact with a man named Robert Butler, and she would hang out with him a lot, and he would supply her drugs and money. And she eventually ended up moving in with him, and she was at his house the night that she died, and there hasn't really been justice. Nobody has been charged for her murder, even though the autopsy ruled it as a homicide. Many of the people have just went on. They are in jail, but only got charged for failure to report a death.
Which is so stupid.
It's like a misdemeanor. They didn't get charged with murder. Why? No idea. It's pretty frustrating to know that Taylor's life was basically taken from her, and there isn't anybody doing time for this. There's no justice for this. She just lost her life.
You think holding them for failure to report a death would give them enough time to investigate them?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is the investigation or the warrant for searching Robert Butler's house wasn't put out until a year after her death. And the house had already been remodeled. I guess a mattress had been thrown out from there. Within a year, so many things. Yeah, so many things changed in the house. And it's really sad because I feel like the cops didn't want to pay attention to it due to her drug abuse, which still does not make it okay for anybody to have their life taken from them, no matter if they're doing drugs or not. So it's really frustrating to know that the police didn't do their job with this one.
On December 22nd of 2016, Taylor's body was found. Now, it was found in an alleyway by basically somebody just walking by that was collecting recyclables. Now, what they found was her body completely, obviously, laid out on the ground. She was basically completely naked. All that she really had was like her t-shirt on, but her t-shirt was like pretty much pulled up to like her neck. She had no underpants on, no pants, no socks or shoes. So it's kind of odd to just find like a half naked body in the alleyway. Now, when a police arrive, they just almost rule it off as an OD. Why? I have no idea. But that's just kind of where they go. Now, they end up doing an autopsy on her body to kind of get a little more information to see what was going on. They did find a bite mark in the inside of her cheek, so almost like if she was biting it to struggle in a fight. They also did find DNA under her fingernails as well that matched none other than Mr. Robert Butler.
Yep.
But again, still not good enough to, send anybody in. We gotta wait a year. Now, to kind of rewind a few hours back before that, all we kind of really know is that Taylor goes to Robert's house. Now, what actually happens in the house is kind of still unknown to this day.
Mm-hmm.
All that we really know is that Butler called his two friends, Dante Baker and I think it's Karan Archer. If I'm saying that wrong, I apologize.
Yeah.
But he calls Baker and Archer to come over to his house to take Taylor to the hospital because he doesn't want to call 911 because he is a convicted felon and he has drugs and guns in his home.
Obviously putting himself before somebody who's obviously
about
not
to
okay.
die. So at this point, Baker and Archer come to the house and they grab Taylor and they put her in the back of his truck. On the way to the hospital, Archer noticed that Taylor had died. At this point, they panic because they don't want to be charged with murder. If you didn't do anything, I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah.
I mean,
could have still taken her to the hospital. Who
for
knows?
real,
Like,
she might have
been
come
okay.
back. Like, I don't know. So, in the midst of them panicking, all that they really did was kind of pull off on the road that they were on, found the first alleyway, laid her body there, and went back to Butler's home. Now, by the next day, that pretty much by the time they've already maybe found Taylor at this point, his car, or his truck, I'm sorry, has been completely cleaned and wiped. The house is completely cleaned and wiped. Within that year time span that it took the police to freaking send out any type of warrant for him, he did full-blown construction to the house, threw out a mattress like shortly after the whole incident. So of course, a year later, there's all this remodel to the house. So by the time you get there, you're really not going to find anything because now everything for sure is gone. And all they really ever got charged with was just for the failure to report a death.
And I think Robert was also charged with possession of marijuana.
Oh, and his ammunition.
Yeah. And it's so frustrating. So frustrating.
The other part I forgot to mention is that Butler had scratches on his face.
Mm-hmm. And his DNA was under her nails.
Her fingernails.
Coincidence?
I think not. But apparently to the police.
Yeah, didn't matter, I guess. But the thing is that they didn't contact anybody. They just left her body there. And I watched the interview with Karan, I think is his name. He basically tells them, he keeps saying, oh, they did this, they did that. And then the police officer keeps asking him, who's they? Who's they? And he just, shakes his head. And then he's and then she's like, you can't tell me. So it's he keeps saying they, but then he says that it was just him and Dante. So who else was involved? And then he keeps saying, I never touched her. I never touched her body. I never touched her. I'll take a lie detector test right now. I never touched her. And it's why are you so worried about anything coming up on you, touching her. Like, something had to have happened. And I would love to know what. It's just really sad. And what I'm wondering, hypothetical, in my opinion, I don't know. I'm wondering if they did a, like, rape kit on her or anything, you know? Like, I wonder if their DNA would have been on her at all.
I mean, it would explain why she had nothing on her.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering, like, wouldn't that be the first thing that you would, like, look at?
But I mean, I guess happened? Not, because they ruled it immediately as, like, an overdose. And then I think even after the coroner was trying to say it was a homicide, the cops were like, are you sure?
Yeah, basically, that's the weirdest thing is, like, they found her and she was, like, covered in bruises. And, like, had all these bruises, like, on her legs, her arm, like, bite marks in her mouth. Like, it looked like she was fighting.
Was struggling and fighting. Like, not just somebody that, like, stumbled off or anything. Like, no. Like, you were fighting for your life type of struggle.
And if she just, like, slowly passed in the back seat of the truck, there shouldn't be evidence of a struggle. She should have just looked like she was laying there. There shouldn't have been all these gruesome marks on her. And it's sad because 2 18-month-old little girls lost their mom. And as much as the police want to say, oh, well, she was a drug addict, she did this, she did that, so, like, basically she deserved it. That's not the case. Like, addiction, it doesn't mean that she cares any less about her kids. It's just that the addiction is so powerful. And I'm sure she loved her kids more than anything. And it's not that she loved drugs more. Drugs are money more. She was trying to survive the way she knew how to. And it's very sad to know that her life was taken from her. It wasn't just an OD, because they could have taken her to the hospital. Like we said, who knows? She could have pulled out. They could have gotten her to the hospital and they could have done something to help her survive.
Yeah,
and nobody would know.
CPR,
they could have done so many things.
Like so many other things that they could, I don't know.
It's just really sad to know that the police kind of just put it on the back burner because she did drugs. So if she didn't do drugs, would this be like a whole wide open case and people would be getting charged with murder?
But then that's my other thing too. It's like, yeah, she might have been doing drugs, but like the person that like would have been doing it is already like a convicted felon. So wouldn't you be thinking like, is this guy like doing some more? Like, do we need to put him back in prison? Like, it just seems like, this is another thing that is just on my desk and I don't want to deal with it, and just roll it like that and call it a day. And that's not.
I don't know. It's very, very sad. But but luckily they are behind bars. It won't be for long, but luckily they're not out there doing this again currently, and hopefully it never happens again. But if they do get out and it happens again to somebody else, the police need to do their job.
That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't happen to anybody else. They should have already been doing their damn job, and they
should all be serving life. Like, she was clearly murdered.
Something that happened. The fact that he had scratches on his face, his DNA was already under her nails. Like, you can't rule anything out, but apparently you can. And then just that, it takes them a whole year for a warrant. Like, you really didn't care.
No. And it's sad because in one of the interviews or news things, they show Taylor's mom going to talk to Dante while he's behind bars. And she's just like asking him for questions and asking him what happened. What went down that night. I need answers. Like, please just give me the peace of mind. And he doesn't show any remorse or anything. Like, he's kind of just like, yeah, she died in the back seat, and we put her out on the alley. And she's like, okay, nobody touched her, like nobody did anything. He's like, nope, sorry, don't know what to tell you. And it's like, you don't care at all? You don't care. This mom is standing in front of you, bawling her eyes out, asking for answers. And you're very much just, I don't know, that's what happened. Crazy. So disappointing. In the interview or the interrogation, the police officer says one of them, I don't know who it was, she didn't mention names, but somebody else had said that they kicked her out of the car. They didn't take her out of the car and place her there, that one of them kicked her out of the car. And Karan's like, no, that didn't happen. And if they did, I mean, maybe that would explain the bruises, but that's even shittier to think that they were like, oh, just get her out of the car, and just kicked her out and went on their day. And just went back to Butcher's house and, like, probably helped him clean. And
Butler's house.
Oh, Butler. Sorry, his name's not important.
It's really not, but I don't know. I'm wondering too, did she leave his house with no pants?
I mean, she was found with no pants, so I have no idea. They didn't say, like, in the interrogation. Nobody said anything about it. So, time to end this video on a more positive note, if we can. We're going to talk about the wines that we tried and let you know what we think. So the wine that I tried today is the Firefly Ridge. I think we've had this one before, but it was pretty good, so I think we bought it again. And it's bold. It's somewhere in between the scale of smooth and tannic. It's more on the dry side and it's more on the acidic side. And I get that. It's a red blend and I kind of get more of a cabby taste to it. So it makes sense on why it would be more dry. It has the aroma of strawberry and raspberry, and the body is medium. It has flavors of mocha, toasty oak, and chocolate. I think it was pretty good. And it pairs well with beef, lamb, veal, and poultry. So dinner, you know? I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. What about yours?
So tonight I had, see, I can't even see right now. You know where I'm at. I'm like, I'll go off to the camera. Like, okay. I had the Ravenwoods Zinfandel. I think we might have had that one too, honestly. I think both of ours from tonight have been a repeat, but
yeah,
they were delicious, so why not?
Yeah.
Now, with mine, it is more on the bolder side, which I totally agree with because it definitely has a kick to it. It's definitely in between being smooth and tannic, which I could see that. It says it's on the more drier side than the sweet side, but I feel like it was a little bit sweet. But I mean, I guess I could see how it was dry because, like I said, the first few sips.
They're kind of rough, yeah.
Had a kick for sure. It does say it's definitely more softer than acidic, which I definitely can see that completely. And, well, I guess taste that, I guess, more than anything. I wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah, taste it.
So, I definitely taste that. With this one, we do have notes of blackberry, plum. We have some oak, some cloves, some chocolates. And then what else? Let's see.
It also says that it has mouth-watering flavors of raspberry, cherry, and boysenberry.
What the heck? Oh, yeah.
Boysenberry? I like boysenberry.
Spicy ripe raspberry. It says our Zin is a robust red, brimming with mouth-watering flavors of spicy ripe raspberry, cherry, and boysenberry.
Delicious.
That honestly sounds pretty good. It tastes pretty good, I won't lie. Now, this one, you can pair it very well with some poultry, lamb, or obviously beef. So again, basic dinner wine. But can never go wrong with some red wine for dinner. That's good. I like them. Thank you everybody for watching, and we can't wait to see you next Wednesday. Bye!